Tyler, in an unprecedented age where there is a wave of young American talent on the men's side, so skilled, so optimistic, grinding through European football together, do you feel you're writing a new story of what it means to be an American footballer in Europe together?
Oh, 100%.
This is Rog, and it's a true joy to sit here with a 22-year-old American who has been on a hero's journey, experiencing a meteoric rise from unexpected origins to dominate the game's biggest stages in their biggest moments. A man who proves if you have real-life goals, you can make them come true. That's not a cliche after all, when you're Mr. Tyler Adams.
Thanks for having me, Raj.
Tyler, you grew up in Wappingers Falls, New York, just outside of Poughkeepsie, born to a single mum, Melissa, who is a remarkable woman. She had you aged just 22, and you've said of your early life, we didn't have much. Life was, quote, a roller coaster. We were never quite sure if things were going to stay on the tracks.
Yeah, for me, growing up in a household without a father and only having my mother, she's a huge role model and example of grinding to become successful. And I think it was the long nights that she was working, always going overtime, spending a lot of time with my grandparents, going to school and then having to stay in the after-school programs and wait for her to pick me up because we needed to do everything we could to make a little bit of extra money. That's really what made me realize, geez, if I have an opportunity to make it out and make money, this is going to be the first person I repay.
In 7th grade, your entire life was transformed when your mum met her now partner, Daryl Sullivan, the man you now call Dad. Daryl had Scottish roots, a lifelong Rangers fan, a bloke who dreamed of being a pro footballer himself, and you've said it was his obsession with the game that was life-changing because it gave you a changed sense of what it would take to make it yourself.
100%. If I could pick one moment in my life that changed my life forever, it would be when he walked into my life. I didn't really know what to expect. My mom was never with anyone or a partner or anything raising me, and I think it took a lot for her to accept that she wanted to start a life with somebody, especially at that point in her life when I was in 7th grade. That's kind of the prime time. I don't think you want to bring someone into a kid's life. You're going through a lot of changes psychologically, physically, everything, and I was kind of a punk back in the day. I thought I was the man of the house. I was always right. I couldn't be wrong. And when he came into my life, he straightened me out, not just mentally, but also with the game. And, you know, when we could share that common passion for one thing, which is football, and that always be the basis of our relationship. A big moment in my career was when he told me to play your own age group and to enjoy making friends your own age. And the football part is going to come. You're going to be able to develop. You have time, but to play and establish yourself in a group of kids that are the same age as you, as your peers, where you don't always need to focus on playing up an age group physically, mentally, everything. And that really settled me down and humbled me because I was able to make a lot of friends that I still have today at those levels. And if it wasn't for that, honestly, I don't think I would be in the position I am.
When did that happen? Age 22?
Not at age 22. Not at age 22.
Age 13, you started to be called into the US youth national team setup, where you started to forge a lifelong friendship with Hershey, Pennsylvania's Kristen Pulisic. Did you watch him then and say, yep, that kid is next level. He's going to take Europe by storm?
Yeah, absolutely. The talk of the national team was always Christian. And I remember at the time he was really small and people were like, wow, look how technical he is. Look at his ability. And he always had something special about him, whether it was his demeanor, his personality, just the confidence, his kind of aura. And I think that as a young player, he was kind of setting the tone for what you wanted to be and where you wanted to go. So now seeing him and his successes and following him, and yeah, it's great to see as a friend.
Christian Pulisic for Chelsea, 1-0.
2017, it was a difficult one for United States men's soccer. Tyler, where did you watch that Trinidad and Tobago game in which we crashed out of World Cup qualifying?
I was in my dad's bedroom. In my head, I'm like, what's going to happen if they don't qualify? And he's like, well, listen, one, you want them to qualify because trust me, you could be a dark horse to make that roster going to the World Cup. And in my head, I'm like, I've never even thought about playing in this because we haven't really looked upon young players for success in the sport yet. You had to be a real gem. And at that time, Christian was that person. And then we were like, what happens if we don't qualify for the World Cup? He's like, you'll probably get called in and we'll probably start to create a new pathway for young players, but you have to wait 5 years to play in a World Cup at that time. So you're going to miss out on a lot of international soccer because you'll only be playing friendly. So I thought about the opportunity that I would have, but just for the nation in general and the step backwards that we were going to take, I felt very emotional. Yeah, it sucked.
You arrived in the US men's squad at a time when there was a mass clean out of talent. There was no hierarchy. It had all been shattered, cleared out, filled up with all you young guns. Were you all like looking at each other like, holy crap, we've got the keys to the kingdom?
To be honest, not yet. It was too soon after not qualifying. I would say even now, we're happy that we have a young group and we're enjoying the process, and it's a growing process. You know, you go through a lot of ups and downs, but we still don't look at it that way because I think that you can become complacent when you think, oh, it's just going to be the young guys. There's experiences that you still have never gone through. For instance, when we played the first game of qualifying and you don't really know what to expect. Yeah, I've had these experiences with the youth national team, but now I'm facing it for the first time with the senior national team with a senior World Cup on the line. It's different circumstances. So I think experience plays a huge role in it. But at the same time, it's so exciting to see young guys go out there for the first time and being able to represent their country and doing it together where you have friendships and great relationships. You go to war with these people, so it's important.
I met you for the first time when you just had your 7th cap.
Personally, in my head, I'm like, I want to be the captain of the national team for however many years I'm in the national team. I don't really think that's a secret. It's just I have 7 caps to my name, so that's not really anything. You know what I'm saying? I want to have 100-something caps to my name.
And I was really struck by your confidence. I loved it. But my God, that was a bold thing to say as a relative newcomer. Yet you said it with what I can only describe as absolute surety. Can you explain emotionally what goes on in your head when you say that?
It's definitely important to me. I think that being a person that guys can lean on for advice, for anything they need, I'm a relatable person. I enjoy being that vocal point of things, and leading a group of people is something that I enjoy doing.
We are living, Tyler, in an unprecedented age where there is a wave of young American talent on the men's side, so skilled, so optimistic, grinding through European football together. Do you feel you're writing a new story of what it means to be an American footballer in Europe together?
Oh, 100%. Not just the European part of it and being able to play at the highest stages, the biggest stages, the highest level, but I think it's so important for young players to realize that every single person's pathway to get here was completely different. It's sometimes not pretty, sometimes it's pretty and seems easy, but there's an extreme amount of hard work and dedication and commitment to the process, and just believing in the process and grinding it out, and hopefully good things will come from it. But there's obviously no guarantee in football for anything you do.
One of the joys of this young wave from the outside, Tyler, is how much you support each other and celebrate each other's successes. Can you talk about how you experience it in the various WhatsApp and Instagram chat groups that you have? Give us a taste of who the most vocal leaders are and what's been said.
We're in such constant contact with each other, and we all have personal messages between each other. But honestly, there's got to be credit to Greg Berhalter for this. When he started this 2-year process leading up to the World Cup qualifying cycle, he told everyone how important it was to him to have a close-knit group, you know, not just with each other and your teammates, but also the staff and the staff members and the physios, and all these little relationships are what creates a team. And you hear from the coaches after games, before games, good luck, good game. Oh, you'll learn from this. Oh, this was good for you. And now within the team, we have guys that are playing all over the place, supporting each other, playing against each other in Champions League. We support each other's successes. We learn from each other's failures. We have a WhatsApp group that changes each camp with the guys that are in camp. And we actually have an overall, like, with all the players that have been in the national team pool. So there's like one with like probably 100 players. That one's not too active because I don't think people want to randomly start saying things. It's usually the one that's from the most recent camp that we still have a little bit of banter in. So
that one's just Guzan chiming in. When you look at US men's teams past and their big dreams and their mixed achievements, how do you understand what's held us back as a nation?
It's a tough question. I mean, obviously, when you don't qualify for things like the World Cup, I think sometimes you have to take a step back to take a step forward, which I think this has also allowed us to do. But I don't think there's anything specifically that has held us back. I think obviously having free programs in the U.S. for young kids to play in is super important, just like it is here in Europe. I think there's a lot of quality players that play because it's a free sport. They go and they join an academy, they live there, and they have everything for free. So it's a no-brainer. Let's play football. So I think it's a little bit different in the U.S., but I think we're going through that process and learning that has to change.
Is there something in our mindset
Yeah, I mean, I think sometimes we've had the mentality maybe that something's going to be handed to us and we don't have to fight for it. But I think it's in the US's DNA to work hard for things. And that's why I find it contradicting, because when you watch the US soccer programs play, we've always built our game off of hard work and grinding it out. So that's kind of what we're trying to bring back a little bit into the DNA.
So as a member of the United States men's team, not just a member, but a leader of that team, in your heart, Tyler, as you train with these young baby eagles, really eaglets, what do you truly believe is possible?
A lot is possible, to be honest with you. We're obviously still going through a huge learning curve, right? And we have to be patient in that process, but we're continuing to check things off. Qualifying for the World Cup is one of the first things on our list, and that's step-by-step, game-by-game mentality. We can't really get too ahead of ourselves. But then going to Qatar and hopefully making some waves there before making major waves at the 2026 World Cup.
Is that what your mind is? Do you feel at night when your head hits the pillow, the emanating future joy of 2026? Is that in your mind?
It's always in your mind. Whenever you can play a World Cup on home soil, to have my family in the stands at all my World Cup games is something that I wouldn't ever believe is possible. So that's going to be really special.
Tyler Adams, you are a human joy. I raise my blood fam to you. Oh, your human wonder and courage.